Hey, my name's Larry and I'm with Underthebridge Flies, and today we are going to tie one of my favorite flies, the UV back purple Scud. There's one that I've already tied right there. This has a UV Scud backing on it, pink bottom, and using red thread. This one here is actually tied on a size 16 hook. We're going to show you how to tie this little Scud today. Okay, the first thing, of course, put our hook in the vise, and like I said, I'm tying these on a size 16. You can tie them on pretty much any size Scud hook. We do a lot of Scuds for the bighorn down there in Thermopolis, and in that area I actually tie them on 12s and 14 Scuds, but I've also tied them on 20s and 22s for, you know, guys in Utah. But these are really good Scud. They work well. I usually run mine with as a dropper behind a wire worm or a larger nymph or something, and I've caught a lot of big fish with this Scud. I mean, they're really good. So we're gonna show you how to tie one. All right, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start my thread, and I'm using red 8/0 uni thread. And what I do is I start my thread back from the hook shank a little bit. As you can see, this gives me a stopping point for my materials as I'm bringing my materials forward, because one of the worst things that I've learned, one of the hardest things that I learned how to do, was I'd always get my material too close to that eye, and I'd end up with half my eye covered up and have to force the material back because, you know, that. So I just start my thread there, and that gives me a marker to where I say, all right, stop there with my material, and it works for me. So bring your thread all the way back around down to around your hook bend there, about halfway, and then we're just going to bring it right back up. This gives us a little foundation for our skin to set on. If you're normally on regular Scuds, you know, you're going to be using, you know, either a Scud backing in clear. You might use, you know, the thin skin, but what I use for these is a UV purple Scud backing, and this is a little bit different. It's, as you can see, it's, I mean, just real flexible. It's like a gummy bear, I guess, but this is a UV purple, and this skin, you know, I can't find it in a lot of places. So when I did find it, I mean, the guy had like the fly shop had like 4 or 5 packs of this, and I bought every one of them because they are, you know, they're like $6.50 for this, but I mean, the Scud that this makes and the fish that it catches, it's very well worth it. But I mean, it's really good stuff, and it's a little bit different than the thin skins and everything, you know, because, you know, it's just more, like I said, more flexible. So you got to allow a little bit more extra for this skin, you know, as far as your hook, you know, and everything. And when I start this skin here, you're going to see what I'm talking about, because I mean, when I pull this down, it just starts to bubble. I mean, you can see the grooves that, you know, my string is making in this stuff. So your regular thin skins and, you know, Scud backing is not going to do that. So, but you got to leave a little extra room from your eye because of that, because it just spreads out so easily, you know, that it does crowd your eye rather easy. So if you're using this, you know, kind of skin, then you got to keep that in mind. So we're just going to run our thread back and forth a little bit, and that's going to get some of these big bubbles out of it, you know, to where, so, all right. Next thing I'm going to do is tie in my ribbing material. You can use a wire for this, or, you know, I use just a piece of tippet. I got this tippet I keep, and, you know, I just cut off me a long piece of it, but for the Scud, I use this tippet. You can use wire if you want, I mean red wire or whatever, but this tippet works really good for this Scud. It makes a nice looking Scud. And we're just going to tie that in down to the side, and, you know, pretty much done. Now, if you are using thin skin or Scud backing or whatever, and you want to use your tippet here, hold it a little longer, you know, when you're tying this thing in, and once you get, you know, tie it in and then bend it over and tie it again, that'll keep it from pulling out on you. With this skin, I mean, it's got all those ridges from that gel, and it's not going to pull out. I mean, I just, you know, started it halfway and just took about 5 or 6 wraps around it, and you can tell it's not going anywhere now. So again, I mean, you don't have to do that when you're using this skin, you know, as far as worrying about your tippet or your wire pulling out while you're wrapping it. So, all right. So the backing, or the Scud dubbing that we're using for this is Wapsi, and it's called Sow Scud. And we're using a shrimp pink. This Wapsi Sow Scud is, I mean, my favorite stuff for, you know, Scuds, sow bugs. This is just incredible dubbing for these. If you can get a hold of it, try it. It's, I mean, it's really, really good stuff. But all right, so we got our thread all the way to the back, and we're going to start our dubbing. Now, one of the biggest problems that I see, and that I had when I first started tying, was material. How much material do I put on this? I mean, little. Just keep in mind, a little bit is always better than a lot on any fly, pretty much. I mean, you can always add more, but it just makes it so much easier. And on a Scud, I've learned that I want to layer this. So as you can see, I don't have a whole lot of material on there, and I'm just going to start back and bring this forward as I go, and then we'll just add some more. And again, we're just going to grab a little bit of material and spread it out. Lick your finger, or, you know, you can use wax. There's little chapstick tubes, I guess you call them. Wapsi fly makes wax. You can just put that on your skin, you know, and work your dubbing. I just lick my finger and do it. I mean, but, you know, if your fingers have been in some places that you don't want to lick them, you know, grab you some wax and, you know, get that put. It'll help you get this stuff, you know, halfway tight. I roll this, you know, kind of tight around this. So another thing when you're doing these Scuds is when you're putting your dubbing on, keep a nice smooth layer of dubbing. Try not to make any big humps in the middle of it. You know, if you do, get them pulled out, because it'll, I mean, you'll just hump up your Scud right there, and it'll be harder to work with later on. So I run my first layer over, and then I just bring my string back. And then I'm going to grab me another little clump, and like I said, we're just going to continue to layer this on. Now, each time you go back and forth as you're building up this body, bring your thread up, you know, just a little bit, and that's going to start giving you your taper. And we're going to stop a little bit from where we did, and then we're just going to do that again. And you see, we're just, my thread is just, I'm moving my thread up towards the fly as I go and building my body up. So when we're done, we'll have a nice tapered body. It'll be, you know, large in the middle and easier to tie off on around your eye and everything. So we're just going to continue that. And then I'm going to check my scud with my backing here, and I pull my backing over, and I want to see my backing wrap to the sides of the scud, but I don't want it to go, I mean, all the way down to the bottom of it. I mean, I'm just going to go to where it's just, you know, curved around the top there, because when you pull your tip down, you know, as you're wrapping your ribs, it's going to pull it down. One of the things when you're using regular, you know, scud backing or thin skin or whatever, you know, it'll start to curl, and it's just harder than heck to get that out of it. So I got a little bit of a hole back here, so we're just going to add just a hair more of this dubbing just to get rid of that hole. And like I said, just give your finger a little lick there, and there we go. Alright, so, alright, normal scud back, thin skin, when you pull your backing up over the top of this fly and tie it off, is I'm going to tie this off in front of the eye up here, and then I'm going to fold it back over and tie it again, because, you know, the thin skin and the scud backing have tendencies to slip on you. So I want to make sure that thing's good and solid. On this, you don't have to do that on this skin. You do need to get your thread back away from that eye, because when you wrap this, it is going to stretch. I mean, it's just automatically going to try to go somewhere. It's going to stretch forward toward your eye, and it's going to cover the eye hole up, and we're going to try to avoid that. But you can see, I mean, you can't even see the thread into that skin there, you know. Let me turn this over a little bit so you can see that better. But when I'm tying this down, I mean, you can see that stuff is just, I ain't even put no tension on it, and it's just cutting into the skin. So this is really good stuff, and you know, you don't have to really worry about it slipping out of there too much, because, you know, I just put 3 wraps on that. You would never do that with a thin skin or, you know, a scud backing, because you know it's going to pull right back out on you. But if you can see that, you know, how that's swelled up in front there, you know, so we're going to try to push that back away from the eye, and then we're going to bring our thread up and build us a little head while we're at it. One of the things that you're going to get into when you're tying these, when you stop your thread, because you're making your head, it's beveled on up, you know, towards there, and you want a nice taper. You know, when you're wrapping this and you hit that thread, you're knocking your thread, and then it goes and unties, and you're, you know, kind of messed up. You done cut everything. So take a second, throw a whip finish around it. You don't have to worry about, you know, losing all your hard work at that point. Okay, so now we're going to wrap our little piece of tippet here, and we're just going to come up from underneath and get it to where we want it to start our first rib, and give it a little tug, come back around, give it a little tug, and then what I can do is come up again. And we're going to go one more time, I believe, right there. And then when I get to my thread up front, I'm going to wrap that around 2 times, and then I'm just going to bring my thread, start wrapping my thread right straight around it. I captured it, you know, under the thread, so not a big deal, and it's going to just clip that off as close as you can. Now we want to look at our we want to look at our, scud and make sure, our back's on there, pretty straight. We can always move it around at this point. So I'm gonna, make sure everything's nice and pretty for me. And I mean, you can see that we're just, hanging right over the edge of that. We got a nice bevel on that scud. And then, so we're gonna wrap this a couple times up there. Now the next step is get you some Zap-A-Gap. This stuff's great. If you're tying flies, you should have Zap-A-Gap. If you don't have it, then I don't know why you wouldn't, but we're just going to put a little bit on this string here. And I'm just going to start wrap that a couple more times. Excuse me. So that glue gets in there. Zap-A-Gap gets set up in there. And then we'll whip finish. Snip off our thread, and all right, so my next step is piece of Velcro. Dollar store, the Family Dollar, in the hardware part of it, where they got their little screws and locks and stuff. They got these packs of Velcro back there, and you can get these. They're like $1.50, and you get a big package of them that'll last you 5 years. Cut it into about a 1/4 inch strip. You want to have 2 or 3 rows of your little Velcro hooks showing. Take your Velcro and just slide up underneath of that thing and just back and forth, like you're shining a shoe. And then you can just go up and down the side of it. I mean, you don't have to put no pressure on this really either. I mean, as you can see, I'm just, barely, if you put a lot of pressure on it, you're going to scratch your, head, and you could cut your string with this stuff too. I mean, you just be careful. And but like I said, I mean, this is just, but it really pulls these fibers out for you. I mean, all right. So now I want to cut these fibers off. I don't want them this long, So I'm gonna go from the head of from the eye to my point of the hook at an angle, and chop these things off just like that. Okay, so, and if you're happy with the way, how many fibers you got sticking out there, and how bushy that is, if you want a little more, you can always do it again a little bit, fluff it up a little bit more. Make sure you ain't got no real long threads sticking down through there, or fibers. All right, so now the final step that I do, which you don't have to do it on, regular flies, when you're using the clear scud backing or the thin skin as much, but as far as this, since this is like a gel, when the fish grabbing a hold of this, it's not as, they'll tear it up, I mean, I get this from the dollar store. It's LA Colors Rapid Dry Top Coat. Any top coat will work. This just fingernail polish top coat. You Family Dollar, Dollar General, go look in their fingernail aisle. Kmart, they'll have some of this for like $1. This is $1, and it's well worth $1. It works really good. And we just take that and brush that on there, and it'll dry in, just a couple seconds, this stuff will dry. If you have a UV light, hit that real quick with your UV light, and it'll be dry in 2 seconds. But like I said, it's $1 at the dollar store, and it really protects your fly. It helps it make it more durable. I actually use that on all of my zebra midges. because, you know, they're just thread and wire, and it makes my zebra madges last a lot longer, you know, out on the river. You know, once a fish, you know, gets their teeth into it, you know, they just tear up that zebra midge, you know, thread starts coming unraveled, and, you know, but that just gives it a little extra life, you know. So, I mean, yeah, for a buck, you know, it lasts me probably 3 months, you know, so it's well worth it anyway. So now that it's dry, this is a complete fly now. We're done. I mean, that's it. That's all there is to this fly. Like I said, this is an excellent pattern for the bighorns for sure. Every place, I mean, people fish this, they catch fish. I mean, it's a really, really good scud pattern. The fish love the purple and pink. We all know that. It's UV purple. So, like I said, give it a try. This scud skin that I'm using, like I said, it's kind of difficult to get a hold of. Look in your local fly shop. If they can't get it, or they don't have it, or you can't find it, whatever, give me a holler. I can get it for you. Like I said, it's like $6.50 for a pack of it. So, but it comes in a ton of colors. You know, I mean, they got black, blue, brown, caddis, chartreuse, glow in the dark, even olive, orange, red, white, yellow, UV purple, of course, and pink. So if you can't get it, get a hold of me. I can get it for you. That's not a problem. Also, the sow scud from Wapsie, if your local fly shop or whatever does not carry this, this is $2.50, I believe, for one of these packs, and it makes a lot of scuds. And as you can see, it's just like really, really nice for scuds and sow bugs as well. Again, if you can't get a hold of it, give me a holler. It's $2.50 a bag. I can get it for you. You can get a hold of me on Facebook at Underthebridge Flies. You can get a hold of me on Instagram at Underthebridge Flies. Or, you know, follow me on YouTube here. We'll be posting more videos later, and it'll give you an alert when I do. I appreciate it. Here's my number and everything. If you, I mean, have any questions or whatever, you can always text or call me. If you need any of these materials, you know, give me a holler. I can get them for you. And I appreciate you watching my videos, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks again. Hope you watch in the next one.